The renewed fight over gun control is added to President Obama's already full second-term agenda. Will it get enough attention, and will it be at the expense of other second-term agenda items? Let's bring in today's Brain Trust panel. Ari Melber, an MSNBC contributor and correspondent for The Nation. David Nakamura, White House reporter for The Washington Post. And Colin Hanna, president of Let Freedom Ring. Thank you all for being here today.
Thanks. Thanks, Melissa.
President Obama kicked off a busy day on Friday with a response to the online petition calling for action to stop gun violence. Ari, let me play you part of his response. Let's listen to that.
So I just wanted to take a minute today to respond and let you know we hear you. Now, like the majority of Americans, I believe that the Second Amendment guarantees an individual right to bear arms. It's encouraging that many gun owners have stepped up this week to say there are steps we can take to prevent more tragedies like the one in Newtown.
In a piece for The Nation, you wrote about how we, the people, petitioned for gun control, which at the time of your writing was over 150,000 signatures, broke a White House record. So, Ari, since a good number of Americans and lawmakers are on board outside of the new task force the president created to look at ways to curb gun violence, what does the president have to do next to keep the momentum going and promote significant action? Does he have to call on the gun owners he referred to in his address to help him ramp up his argument, rather?
Right. Well, one thing he has to do is, yes, stitch together the arguments that he's been making to the responsible gun-owning community. You don't get gun regulation in this country without engaging gun owners, and we've discussed the statistics that show just how many people own guns. The other thing, though, that he can do is engage his email list. You know, he has over 16 million people on that list, and as you just mentioned, the article I wrote recounted how the push for gun control on the White House website was literally the largest petition ever, and on independent websites, including a petition service called signon.org, there were 300,000 and 400,000 people signing up. So what we're seeing is a tremendous energy from at least base activists on this issue. So I think the president, as I said, has to go to gun owners, mention it in the State of the Union, and then ultimately use his big list, what they call the OFA email list, to put this on the agenda in the new year.
Yesterday, as some gun shows were canceled out of respect for the Newtown victims, others, like ones in Kansas City and Atlanta, went on as scheduled. People flocked to them as well. Colin, I want to play you what some gun owners at the Atlanta show said, and let's talk on the other side.
Connecticut shootings, everybody in line was talking about that. Everybody's, I guess, worried about their safety, and it showed today, because, I mean, the guns, I mean, the lines are still long, but not near as long as it was this morning.
I believe that they will make some recommendations that will limit my Second Amendment rights, and so as a result of that, I'm here to take advantage of an opportunity to do something about that before it happens.
Colin, your organization is all about promoting the Constitution, which obviously includes the Second Amendment. Will the president and other proponents of gun control ever find a middle ground with gun owners?
Well, it's important to understand the reason for the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was not enacted for hunting and target shooting and so on. It was really an 18th century reaction to the appropriation of guns by the British, and it was to enable the citizenry to form its own resistance against an oppressive government. So it's very important that when you look at the Second Amendment, you recognize the original intent, and therefore any attempt to limit the right of citizens to possess arms has to be done within that context. Now, in 1934, machine guns were ruled illegal, and that's been upheld by the Supreme Court. So there are some limitations that can be placed on the right without destroying the right. But my guess is that most of the things that are being discussed right now will be found by the Supreme Court to be in violation of the Second Amendment. Furthermore, I'm not sure they're working on the right problem. You know, if you don't have the problem identified properly, you're probably going to come up with a wrong solution. And I think that focusing on the weapons, on guns, rather than on the conditions which create the kinds of tragedies we saw in Newtown, would be the appropriate place for the public to put its attention. But there's also no question that the public is extraordinarily and sympathetically aroused on this issue and is demanding some kind of answer. And to a lot of people, gun control seems like an easy answer. I don't think it is. I don't think it's effective.
All right, I want to work in Dave's. Some are worried that the renewed debate on gun control might push other issues the president has to deal with to the back burner. David, you wrote about this in your recent post for The Independent. What are immigration reform advocates telling you they're most worried about?
Well, Melissa, that's a good point. The president had promised immigration advocates that coming off his election where he won 71% of Latino votes, that was going to be one of his first priorities after the fiscal cliff was resolved. We don't know when that's going to happen in terms of the fiscal cliff, but immigration activists tell me they want to hold the president to that promise. And the problem is now no one disputes that the president needs to move fast on gun control. The president's talked about quickly moving a bill on gun control as soon as the new year comes. The problem is, do you have competing interests, and can the White House do both things at one time, and can they get enough reaction from the Hill on both of these things? We see already the president being bottlenecked on his fiscal plan, and I think that's the problem facing the president and the White House right now. How do you prioritize what's important? Right now they're saying they all are, but something has to go first.
Well, stay with us, all of you. We've got to take a quick break. Later on, I'll hear the Brain Trust predictions about what the headlines will read on January 1st as we're set to hit that fiscal cliff. And up next, he's got his heart in it, but will Speaker Boehner survive the fiscal cliff battle? Our Brain Trust will weigh in. That's next. Let's bring back today's Brain Trust panel. Ari Melber, David Nakamura, and Colin Hanna. Thank you again all for being here. Ari, let's get right to the Speaker's job. In a recent post, John Stanton, writing in BuzzFeed, points out that he will likely keep his job. What is your take on it?
I saw that piece. I think it was a good point. I mean, the basic argument being that if you think Eric Hanna is the main rival to Speaker Boehner, they've been united as the fiscal cliff negotiations have broken down, and there's a lot of diciness when it comes to trying to make a challenge to a sitting speaker, even though the Tea Party folks are not very happy with Boehner, and the White House isn't very happy with Boehner, so he's losing on the left and the right, if you will. But no, I don't think his speakership is in danger right now from what reporting we're seeing.
Colin, I want you to weigh in on the fiscal cliff negotiations. Clearly, Democrats and Republicans just can't see eye to eye on how to solve the problem. Neither side will concede on certain spending and tax cuts. Has there been a miscommunication or a misunderstanding by the parties on what taxes are palatable to the public and which ones are not?
Oh, there's been a fundamental misfocus on the whole thing. By focusing on taxes for the top 2%, the president, the Speaker, and for that matter, Governor Romney, have really done the country a disservice. Even if the top 2% were raised the way the president wants, that would bring in about $80 billion. We have a $1 trillion annual budget deficit forecast for the next year. That means that President Obama's solution would address 8% of the problem. It's by focusing on the 8% and giving the public the impression that that's, in fact, what would fix the problem that all these parties have done a disservice. They need to focus on spending, not on taxes. If they focus primarily on spending, I bet you'd see the tax situation resolve itself.
All right, David, let's take a sharp turn and talk about the man who came very close to becoming the next president. The Boston Globe has an in-depth look at what might have gone wrong during Mitt Romney's campaign. Romney's eldest son, Tag, who along with Ann Romney had to persuade Governor Romney to run, according to them, is quoted as saying, he wanted to be president less than anyone I've met in my life. He had no desire to run. If he could have found someone else to take his place, he would have been ecstatic to step aside. David, what do you make of this?
Melissa, I was my eyes opened on that story because I think we all know that Mitt Romney's run twice for the presidency. There were, 7 or 8 other candidates who were very willing to take the lead there during the primary season. What's interesting, about these post-mortem stories is, all of a sudden the campaign comes clean and says, oh, here's what we missed and here's what we didn't know. This campaign, the Romney campaign in this story today talking about, we're surprised by Obama's get out the vote strength and all their field offices. But everybody was talking about that during the campaign. I talked to some of the Romney folks quoted in that story during the campaign, and they pledged they were able to match that Obama machine, and that they had learned from John McCain's unsuccessful effort 4 years before. So I didn't find all of that convincing. It's sort of people trying to sort of look back now, and I think what is true though is the Republicans are going to look to 2016 very differently.
Yeah, well, Melissa, guys, we're going to come back in just a minute, but you're not the first person to disagree with that story today. Stay right there. We'll have the quick break. We'll be back with our own crystal ball into the future, the headlines for January 1st when we come back. Let's bring in our Sunday Brain Trust panel, back for the first time, the last time today, rather, I should say. Ari Melber, David Nakamura, and Colin Hanna. Gentlemen, let's take a look ahead to the first day of the new year and get your publication's headlines for January 1st. Ari, let's start with you. What is going to be on the nation's headline?
Well, I think one thing people will be talking about is, after coming together for the holidays, will there be a new discussion of gun regulation and gun safety? I think that's the headline, and we have to have that conversation. Colin said earlier in the program that the Second Amendment stands in the way of regulating bullets or automatic weapons or Uzis. It's not true. That's not the law. That will not be the law. We need people to stop lying about the Second Amendment and start talking seriously about the overwhelming abundance of guns in this country.
David, your headline for the Washington Post reads more like a first paragraph, but let's hear it.
I'm thinking, that we may be headed over the fiscal cliff, at least temporarily. I don't see a path forward right now for Republicans to agree on the tax cuts. So, unfortunately, it's some bad news, but maybe the Redskins in the playoffs are some good news.
Colin, what's the headline on Let Freedom Ring's website? Sorry.
I think it's time to get serious. We've got to focus on the real problems, not on making deals. We need solutions, not deals. We need solutions like cut, cap, and balance that would actually address the debt ceiling as well as the fiscal cliff far more effectively than what's being discussed at the table today.
Well, a huge thanks today to today's Sunday Brain Trust panel, Ari Melber, David Nakamura, and Colin Hanna. That is our